Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, grannies and gators. It is Friday, August 30th, 2024. And as usual on Fridays, we have our financial whisperer, Mr. Bryce Wade, in the house to try and make some sort of sense out of the nonsense and the noise and the insanity through a different lens than you will get anywhere else, is the idea behind this little open discussion that we have every Friday. So welcome back, Bryce. Thanks for tuning in again. Today, today my brain has been absolutely melted. Apologies to everybody else out there today if things seem a little bit disjointed or discombobulated. It's just been that kind of week. Some of you guys will have seen some of the work that we've done over the last week, and it has definitely kicked some hornets' nests and some cans of worms. But people are having some interesting discussions, I think, about some more important things than they have in the past. So, all of that out of the way, time to settle back and I hope you guys have got a calming beverage, because I doubt Bryce has got a bunch of sunshine, lollipops, warm fuzzy blankets, and cocoa to share with us. Bryce, you get to start us off tonight out of the chute. What's top on the smorgasbords of disaster today?
Well, actually, I got some good news, and you'll never guess who's bringing it to us.
Oh god!
I actually have to defend Justin Trudeau today, which is
What?
it hurts my brain, mind, and soul to do so. But you have to give credit where credit's due, to be intellectually honest, and I am, so I have to. And so this week there was actually a major thing that happened, which is the temporary foreign workers program was put a kibosh on. Now this doesn't anywhere near fix the problem. But the reason I bring it up at all, because I don't really want to jiggle his balls too much, is that this proves that there is sufficient pushback against the government's unbelievably stupid policies, that he had to take an action like that, because they don't want to do that at all. So I have to commend us in the community that oppose all these idiots. Great job. Made him actually do something he didn't want to do. I mean, so you got to take wins when you can get them, because as you probably know by watching me by now, there's a lot of doom and gloom.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's really it should be a massive victory that we should be celebrating, in understanding the fact that, I say it all the time. Now is the time when their ears are actually paying attention. Once they're voted or elected in, then their ears shut up for at least 3 years, until it comes close to another election. But this is the court of public opinion that I talk about all of the time. And we have to be the ones responsible to adjourning ourselves to these events in significant pressure and demanding legitimate negotiation. And there's that's a great sign, that somebody got through his hairdo to get something to come out of his mouth that he probably absolutely despised doing. But then we got to keep not enjoy that too much, because a promise from Trudeau, we know what that's worth, first and foremost. Right? They've made promises like this before. And I don't think that I think it's just, again, indicative of he's not doing anything. He's for real. And what if I'm understanding this right, there's that affects about 70,000 that are going to get sent home. That's not even a start, right? I mean, this is something that we have to keep gnawing on them like a dog with a bone.
Yeah, totally. And I agree. And that's why I said this isn't an endorsement or an actual defense, but it is a, what's the word? A acknowledgement that the public pressure of his absolutely, abysmal poll numbers, the fact of which that there is still 25% of the population that supports this absolute moron, is kind of frankly, more disturbing than his actual policies. But that aside for a second, the fact is that everybody's getting wise to the game really quick, that we're going in the wrong direction. And one of the major policies that prove that is these ridiculous immigration policies. And somebody questioned me on Twitter the other day, and responded to one of the things. And I am very unlike most people on the internet. Is if you're going to say something to me, bro, I don't care what it says, unless it's so stupid that it's not even worth my time responding to. But if you're trying to make an argument, even if the argument is ridiculous, I'll respond to that. I'm more than happy to explain things to people, not only because there has to be pushback, in my mind, pushback against the idea itself, but I think it's more important that people observing the conversation see that pushback and understand the ideas. I have been speaking nonstop for almost 2 years about this sort of stuff. I'm starting to hear the comments and the ideas and the arguments against all this nonsense be picked up by other people, and that's what's been missing, and why I say silence is compliance. I will refuse to be silent anymore on this bullshit, right? And the more people that make that decision, better. And the more examples that you can show people of this is bullshit and this is why and this is how it's bullshit, the better, right? And so why I'm bringing this up in this way is that, and I'll pull it up in a sec, but somebody asked me, all of these things that you're talking about, which, because I list stuff all the time, this is bullshit and here's why. And I was like, well, let me dissect and show you how ridiculous a statement you just made. Right. And so I typically tend to save these explanations of these various different social issues or civil issues that we're facing. How and why are these things a problem? Right. What is the actual mechanics of why and how this is a problem? And so I've been saving the kind of the good ones that I create so I can just refurbish them, so I don't have to type it out a million times. And so if you're on any social media and you get all high and mighty on like this is bullshit and this is why, we'll save that so you don't have to redo it. Like you can take a screenshot and then just regurgitate that one screenshot.
Bookmarks.
That too, yeah. The way that all PCs have this thing called a snip tool, so you can just take a screenshot and save that screenshot of whatever you want. So I've done that a whole bunch of different times, and so I'll show you in a sec actually, because I have it pulled up. So
I have terabytes of screen grabs from different stuff.
Let me show you how this works. So for anybody that doesn't know, this might be valuable to somebody. So we'll just go through it really quick. I'm not going to read the whole thing because you can pause this and you'll be able to read it. Right. So somebody responded to me. Immigration is where does it start here? So I was responding to this guy, this Mosgrove guy, because he was saying something ridiculous about the immigration and the BC Conservatives, which I'm hoping will win and kick out the Socialists. Like I know the parties and blah blah blah. I know. But at the end of the day, you still have to get people out. That's one of the few powers of democracy that we really have. Now, it's a separate issue that I'm not going to go into that. Said it too many times. So anyways, so I responded to this. It was like, delusional nonsense. They're destroying the province. Give a bunch of examples, right? This guy responded to me with absolute nonsense. So immigration is a federal responsibility. The carbon tax is implemented by the BC Liberals, which is true, but that's not where it came from. And there's never been a lockdown of BC. Absolute bullshit. COVID is what destroyed healthcare. Also bullshit. And farmers are getting lots of support. We're not nonsense, right? So I responded with this big long thing. You're an idiot because blah, 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 right? And so I've saved this as a file that I can just re-upload. So when I see this list of, why is this a problem? Well, here's a big list. Like, this is just a list that you can read now. And so what I'll typically do is when somebody responds from the left of like, why is this bullshit or whatever, I have these things that I can just throw at people very easily and say, hey, here's information for you, right? Instead of just a link or instead of just regurgitating and typing out all of that information every single time. So maybe I'll just show this too. So this is what the snipping tool looks like. So you can just see the snipping tool. Everybody has this on their computer if you have a PC. So you can just go like this, boom, and now you have that saved. So you can save this as a screenshot. You can just save it here and download that. And so that's how I save inordinate amounts of time doing that. Oops, didn't want to save that. Yeah, so I hope that helps somebody.
Yeah, that's for me, having done that so many tens of thousands of times, I can't keep it organized because I've got so much incriminating evidence and so much stuff on literally every subject under the sun, and maybe it bears saying that this platform and program here at What's Up Canada, we cover so many of the different things that others won't and don't. And what that means is that you get a higher level of education here. This isn't just an entertainment platform. What's Up Canada is not about entertainment. I hope we're entertaining while we are delivering useful and valuable information. And what we have to understand is Canada, people will, and this came up last night in a different show where we were talking with uh, lawyer Michael Alexander about one of the most important precedent-setting cases in the system right now. And the night before, we were talking about how to eliminate this system. At the end of the day, guys, Canada is going through a transition period of epic, monumental, completely altering proportions. And right now, and I love it the way the Celtic Canuck said it best. Right now, we're in a giant bus, and they're fighting over who gets the steering wheel while we're going over the cliff, and we're all locked in the damn truck, right? And so we
It's just
cover
very
things.
eloquent like that.
I've been chatting with her a bit lately. She's coming on
Oh,
the
yeah?
show real soon.
Oh, sweet.
She's been catching our shows live, so she's hiding out there somewhere in the community, probably listening to us on a podcast. But you know,
Well,
one of the
Celtic, if you ever want to chat, reach out. I'd love to talk to you.
working on it. But you know, the point that I wanted to make, that she got it right, wrong, or disagree or not, the whole, everybody in this quote unquote freedom of movement, the discussion, the public square is really good at pointing fingers and assigning blame. And there's not many places that are talking about solutions. And if anybody's genuinely talking about solutions, you have to realize that we're in a transition period, and we actually have a say in what the next evolution might be, but not if we're not fully engaged, fully plugged in and learning everything that we can that's going to impact through the noise and the nonsense. So if you're a new follower here, maybe you have to go back and catch up on a few of the different discussions that we've had. But this is an ongoing evolution and education system. And yes, you might hear contrasting and different opinions. I don't endorse anything except the truth, and I don't tell anybody what they have to do. I'll tell them what I'm doing and what's coming and what the potential possibilities might be if they don't. And right now, I am not very optimistic at this point in some regards. I'm extremely alarmed about what's going on in the UK. I'm extremely alarmed about what's going on in Ireland, in France, in the Middle East, not so much, believe it or not. And then there's the financial side of things. It's coming from everywhere right now, Bryce.
Yeah, and so let's touch on the economics a little bit. So share my screen for a second. I wanted to show you basically 2.5 things. So this is NVIDIA, right? So we've seen, this massive rise. This is way back in the day. They're like, they're making some money, and skyrocketed, and now they're worth $3 trillion. This company, right? So $3 trillion down here. So they're one of the Magnificent Seven, and this is one of the few companies that's holding up the stock market right now. So you remember when I told you whatever it was a month ago, and like, hey, this is 1,000-point drop of the DJI, the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Well, it's now over. It's now back to where it was plus. So it dropped down to $39,000, and it's gone up to over $41,000. There's no reason for this. This is insane. Like the economy of the US, the economy of China is not in a good situation. There's no reason for this to be going up like this. So this is a bubble of all bubbles that's happening. And why this is important and why I'm talking about this in the relation to everything else is obviously gold. The gold is now, the floor is now 2,500, right? So when we started this podcast, gold was at 21 or 22. So we've seen basically a 10, 20, 15, somewhere in there % rise just in the time we've been doing this podcast between you and me, right? Because I think that started in like February or something.
Well, it's what is it? Episode 23 today. And
So it's 6 months.
we haven't missed a week. You've missed a week, but we haven't missed a
Yeah,
week. So how many months is or how many weeks?
yeah, February.
February.
March. So in that time, we've seen not historic, because historic is crazy, but a very significant rise in the price of gold, because all of these other assets are being inflated, just like gold is, because of the U.S. dollar, right? And so people are moving huge amounts of money into gold. That's why these swings are so significant, right? But eventually, what's going to happen is, where's the other thing I was going to show you? I can't bring it up here, so you can stop sharing for a sec. But the thing that I wanted to touch on is that there is a war, right? So there's the public war that we're facing, which is East versus West. And it's written, yeah, 100%. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. So perfect quote. So we are essentially on the path of war. Like, it is war for survival. It's war for the West. It's war for your country. It's war for your society. It's war for survival. War is a game of survival, right? And so, who is the enemy, and whose team are you on, really? I'm on the side of Western values. I'm a Western person, and I value democracy and freedom of speech and all the other good stuff that we've grown up with, that our own governments are trying to take away from us. So in my mind, my government, in some aspects or some respects, is an enemy of what I believe to be good, true, and beautiful in Western society. Now, that being said, China and communism and all those authoritarians in the East are far worse, and would be far worse for humanity, should they take complete control of the world, just like the Western oligarchs are trying to do on our side, right? So this war that's happening,
I'm a little less civil these days, Bryce. It's been a long week. I'm at the point of choose, Canada: women's rights, human rights, or Islam. This is what we're staring down the barrel of, and to say anything less than that at this point is almost delusional. And yeah, so that's made it a very tiring week in self-defense.
Yeah, I get it. So, well, let me be really specific too, is that this will never be a Muslim country, because I am atheist, as I said many times. I don't hide from that fact, but at the same time, there's 19 places on the planet where I would be executed for being an atheist. Guess where all of those countries are, right? And so,
yeah, that's my point. With Islam, it doesn't matter what you are. If you are not for them, they will use your head for a soccer ball on the street. And we are not that far removed from seeing those kinds of things happening right here in Canada. Honor killings, those kinds of things are being, they're in the court of should they be allowed? Should they not be allowed? Like this, it's gotten that far at this point, with the rise in crime and attacks on women and everything else. I mean, get real. I'm tired of the bubble wrap that we're living in not being able to call this out. That is a good proportion of the 2+, 5+, I don't know how many millions, and I don't think anybody actually legitimately knows, of people that are coming here with a very deep-seated generational hate, with no respect for anything that we have or we stand for here, and they are coming for what we have by any means necessary. And the moderates may not be aggressive, but they're only waiting for the radicals to outnumber the moderates, and then it doesn't matter. And this is like, I'm getting, it's been a long week of shattering people's realities, their worldviews. But I wouldn't be doing this if I felt like we had all the time in the world, that we had time for sunshine, lollipops, and bubble wrap. I may not be as blunt or as factual as I am, but I'm getting really, really concerned about running out of runway. Parliament's coming back into session. Trudeau appointed another freak to the Senate, and we're staring down the barrel of C-63, and that puts me in a prison. And that's not in the unimaginable, far distant future.
No, that's coming soon. And that's what they want, and that's what they've already done in Ukraine. Ukraine is the blueprint for the West. They want total control, total authoritarianism. They pull you off the street. You're into the military now. Like, it's martial law. That's what they want. They want a total control and ability to remove you from society if you push against them in any way, shape, or form. Even if it's not have your kids sex changed or something like that. So yeah, it's ridiculous. But to bring it back to the economics of the war, because that's where that conversation started. Here's what's actually happening, right? You've got the Western hegemony and the Western oligarchs trying to control everything and destroy everybody in their way, us included. And then you've got the Eastern authoritarians that are trying to push back on that, but also take power from the West, right? And the avenue that they're doing that, or attempting to do that with, is the BRICS nations. And so the BRICS are having a meeting of 126 countries. That's basically half of the countries on the planet that, and their discussion is surrounding ditching the US dollar and replacing it with something else. And so to somebody's point that just made it, where is it?
There's a bunch. I'm going to roll back here and scroll through a couple. Laurie's been dropping some real.
Laurie on fire today.
So, so this is a question that while I pull up a few other points that she's dropped, when they call in cash for digital, that's pretty much a given. I think people can realistically realize and see that potential right around the corner with the talk of the UBI, CBDC, and with the collapse, only the essential services are going to be allowed to use these initially until we come into some sort of compliance. Now, the comments she makes a little bit further down here, I'll start loading them up. But what are the possibilities of them coming for gold and silver and making those illegal again, do you think, in this shit show coming?
I think it's possible, but not likely. And the reason for that is there's too many powerful people that are part of this game that have their assets in gold and silver for this reason. So the people that are trying to orchestrate this collapse are not going to be they're not going to be like, hey, well, make my asset illegal. If it's here at all. So maybe if they move everything out of the country and then it's only like, pleb gold here or something, potentially, and we would really have a way to know what that would look like. But because
if the world goes to an international or to a commodities-backed currency, be it gold, silver, or whatever the case might be, the last thing on earth they're going to want us slaves to have is any currency that they cannot control.
Yeah, true. But if that's the way the world would be going, you would still need that asset to transact. So you're right in a sense, and that's kind of why I like the products that we have, is because we're able to, our wholesale program, we're able to move it out of the country if necessary fairly quickly.
Right.
So that there is an avenue of defense for your assets should that actually happen. I don't think that'll happen.
You guys can move it in like 72 hours, right?
Yeah, it's basically 2-3 days.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's important to know, folks. It's really important to know that right now. There's a lot of people that are considering leaving the country. I'm not encouraging or judging or anything at all like that, but that's something to consider. If there's anybody that is considering doing that, liquidating their wealth and getting the hell out of the country, well, that might be something to seriously consider.
Yeah.
Comment here about Warren Buffett. You can chew on that one for a minute.
Shares of the Bank of America. Exactly. And so I've been saying this for months, actually, that all of the super high net worth individuals that are wise to the game, part of the system, in the crew, they're all selling right now because we're at historic highs that we have no right to be at. There's no reason that the stock market is as high as it is with all of the nonsense that's been happening for the last 4 years. Like, China is still posting a positive GDP when their economy is literally collapsing. Like, I can't think of a better example of how much of a nonsense some of these numbers are. And that's why to Laurie's point earlier, skills, assets, and resources. What do you have available? What do you have locally? And what are you going to do with it, right? That's the true value of what you bring to the table and what you have available on your person and in your country, in your area that you control. So the closer that we get to that as the baseline, the more the less that the financialized products of the super wealthy nonsense matter. But because we're currently currently being controlled by the communists and the oligarchs, I mean, don't really have an accurate assessment of what that standard is, really.
I really want to touch on this one from ASCII Dogs. I'm afraid for us seniors, how we fared during the war in this day and age, rather a scary thought. And this is the point, the response to that is, you are our greatest resource, and our communities must come together to look after and take care of our seniors, because Exactly like Lori says, can you make bread? Can you make
Yeah,
butter? Can you sew? Can you do the most simple things?
exactly.
Those things people like Esky Dogs can teach.
Yep.
That's what we need to look after, and we need to support and fortify our communities, not just ourselves as individuals. This is the stuff that I've been screaming for such a long time. Localism, support. Get a baseline. People that can do this, that, or the other. But yeah, this is all incredibly important stuff that we need to get our communities together, because the only way we beat this is going to be attrition.
Yeah.
If you're hungry and accept the deal from those guys, you're going to be you're going to be taken away from the alternative community, because you're not going to be allowed to interact with us. Well, we're probably going to be in a gulag anyways, but uh,
Going
I
down
think
fighting for sure.
yep, yep.
But just
And
to
those
oh, sorry, good.
and to those that do have small amounts of gold and silver and currency, those currencies will still be valid amongst each other in the alternative communities. Because if we're looking down the road to tomorrow, I don't think they're going to be able to control all of that. And the more stronger we are, the more likely that is that we will fare much better coming out the other side. So to each their own. Like, again, I'm just trying to make a case for trying to be looking for in all directions, head on a swivel, I guess.
Yeah, and so just to put a bow on that point from Lori is that the skills, assets, and resources, she's totally right that you cannot create anything with the gold, right, or silver, but it's supposed to be an intermediary, right? You still need to be able to affect a transaction, and if you don't have an intermediary like gold or silver or cash, it's a barter system. And the reason that a barter system does not work at scale is because I've got 20 tomatoes and you've got, a cow. How are we going to make a trade? Well, we're not. It's just I don't want tomatoes and you don't have enough of them to make me give you this cow, right? And so the standard pricing of everything is very much whatever you can make happen, right? So there's that old saying that comes from barter: anything's worth what you're willing to pay for it. Well, what do you have and what are you willing to pay for it? If we're out
Yeah,
in the desert, water's a lot more valuable to you than when you're drowning, right? And
I
so, yeah,
I, I think back of when I went to Florida to ride out Hurricane Irma, and the people that were selling, excuse me, emergency supplies on the side of the road for gold and silver. It's everything else going on. The black market runs strong in every chaos. For me, those would be. I'm getting into the weeds on my thinking here now. I'm preparing for the apocalypse at this point in my mind,
mhm.
and we gotta find our apocalypse family.
Yeah, yeah, literally, and that's what I. So in my circle of people, I talk about this incessantly. I'm known as a prepper now for good reason because I've seen this shit happening and coming decades ago, literally. And now it's coming to the point, and I tell people this in this way for this reason is that all of these problems are coming to a head, right? Once these things start to break systems, then all bets are off, right? Because what they want is either one of two things to happen: they roll out their new system and everybody's a slave, or they're not able to roll out the system and they just collapse everything, so everybody has to fight for survival. And then in either way, that solves the problem of too many people, because that's ultimately what they want, is control of whoever's left after half of everybody's dead or whatever, right? So from that perspective, right, if you know that that's their ultimate goal, the only recourse that you have as an individual that says I don't want that is to fight that. There's no other option. You can't run from this. It's everywhere. It's not like like, and somebody mentioned in the chat that like a lot of people are moving to these different places. It's not like you're leaving the planet. It's not like you're leaving the system. You're just going to a different place that has a different level of control by the same people. Like every single place on this planet, except for 4 places, oddly enough: Russia, Syria, Iran, and North Korea, are the only places on the planet that don't have a Rothschild controlled central bank, which means to some degree they are everywhere, right? Because that's the system that is everywhere. Now, the dictator in whatever country might be a little different. There might be slightly less or slightly more corruption, but we're in freaking Canada. There's maximum corruption. Everybody's an incompetent moron, right? The people that are speaking to us as if they run the place are puppets, right? So like, what do we even talk about? There's corruption everywhere, right? And so what my point is in this avenue of talk is that regardless of where you go, the math is the same. You need food, you need people, you need protection, and you need the ability to survive. That doesn't change anywhere. That is the same everywhere for everyone, regardless of where you are. So does it make sense to be somewhere else with people that you could get along with and survive with? Great, go there. Does it make sense to, hunker down, bunker down, and fight it out here? Great, do that. But because it ultimately is not going to matter where you are, it's going to matter who is there with you and what you were able to do to survive.
At the end of the day, your people are betting their lives on which way it's going to go in certain ways, and I don't begrudge any of them of that. In the part for me is watching history repeat itself and continuously learning about it. Right,
the curse of people that know history.
when you brought up the Rothschilds central bank, I just learned something this week that really struck me about a period of history that I thought I knew quite a bit about, but I hadn't connected some of the dots. And that literally being, and now I have to, that really causes me great reflection when I think about, what would our world look like if Wellington hadn't won at Waterloo? What would it have looked like if Napoleon had won that, right? How different would our world have been? Because I didn't realize that the Rothschilds were again, of course, funding both sides of that war, and they cut off Napoleon's funding, and that's why he won the war, because they decided to bankroll England instead of France for world domination. And then we got into colonialism again, right? So
imagine that.
Right? Imagine that, right? And here we are again, where it's the dang Rothschilds that control everything through proxy and money and the illusion and the fraud of power, the deceit of power. It's incredibly disheartening to see us going down the exact same damned path again, and it's the same perpetual battle waging itself against each other in perpetuity.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a couple good comments on this that I think are really relevant to this conversation. So at 4:34 my time, I don't know what that is, so 7:34 your time, Elaine Mason said, some of the above are responsible due to not participating in the voting process or supporting candidates that we rely on to support we the people. And I do agree with this, right? So there is a case to be said that you can't vote your way out of tyranny. I agree. But at the same time, is the reason that we're in tyranny in the first place is because we weren't being responsible for our civic duties and making sure that we weren't run by absolute morons,
100%.
right?
100%. We've dropped the ball as a society for 92 years.
Oh yeah, forever, long time, right? So we got to make up for lost time, which means that you got to get back in the game. And anybody in your local area, like I go and talk to people all the time, and I'm being more part of the local conservative people, because these are the people. As an atheist, I am aligned with people that are very religious, very I'm not going to say right wing because that's not what they are. They're just but people that value life, right? Because I used to be. I used to be on the left wing. I was more of a centrist, but still kind of leaning left. But now I am very hard on the center. Give me the best policies, and I'll support you. If you say some stupid bullshit, I don't care what side you come from. I'm gonna oppose your nonsense, right? Now, what one of the other comments here that is connected with this is voting won't get us anywhere. UN drip is the problem. That's Richard French at 736, right? Yes, to a degree, but if you see the territory of the political sphere completely, they get taken over by the radicals and the lunatics. Right?
Correct.
You cannot be silent. If you oppose this stuff, you have to be the person that says this is bullshit and this is why. And yes, there's a lot of. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I'm so glad you said that, because that is exactly my position when I talk about because I address these things in great depth on Wednesday, where people are saying we can't vote our way out of tyranny, but yet vote for this guy, but yet they don't understand what they're actually saying. They don't have an answer for we can't vote our way out of tyranny, so vote in the meantime. And we've talked about a path out of that. That does not mean, when I talk about constitutional conventions seceded de jure Canada, that doesn't mean we blow everything up and run away and give them the whole field. No, that means we get enough support to engage in a democratic process that is internationally recognized to establish the kind of democracy that we want. Because at this point, being at the whimsy of a delegate, of a lunatic psychopath, because the king says he has this power and right, has proven to be absolutely corrupt. And we need to learn from other sides of history that when corruption gets bad enough, you can't fix it. You can't fix it. So you have to build something new. And this is the opportunity for us, not to run away from the playing field, but to stand there, get engaged, and to do our civic real responsibility. And that doesn't mean taking 5 minutes every 4 years and going like this,
Exactly.
we're done. And
go ahead.
So
Sorry.
we have to be all in on Canada, or we are deluding ourselves individually even.
Yeah, like I used to take a huge amount of pride in being Canadian, that we were, not so much a step above, but like at least had the illusion of being a more advanced society, right? Because we always consider ourselves, well, we're North American, but we're not quite the Americans. They're a little bit crazy. We're calm, collected, polite, thoughtful, intelligent, analytical. We like to act with our mind instead of our heart. Well, that got blown out of the water in COVID, because everybody apparently was a sheep, or most people anyway. And to fix that, right, we have to really understand, and I think really care about, what does it mean to be Canadian? Why do we care about the country at all? If we're going to defend it, you have to care about it, right? And I don't knock people from like, hey, this is over and I'm blackpilled and I'm leaving. But at the same time, bro, this country gave you so much. We're like, you look around the world, the rest of the planet's fucked, bro.
Nobody's going to give you more. Nobody's
No.
going to give you more. Nobody's going to give your kids or your great grandkids more.
Well,
go ahead.
And more importantly, look around the planet, bro. This is the best geographical place on the planet to survive what's coming. Right? There's literally nowhere better. All of the food, all of the energy, all of the land that you need is here. It's nowhere else. We have everything we need right here.
We are still not outnumbered by hostile forces yet.
Yeah.
Yet, right?
And this is my point: is if you get loud and you get organized, there's still a chance to save our birthright. Right? I got born into a country that valued Western values. Free speech, rule of law, democracy, all the good stuff that we grew up thinking about and caring about. We fought a whole war about defending that, right? And now we have to fight another one in our lifetime to do it again, unfortunately. But that means that we got to do it right this time and hang the fools that are trying to destroy us instead of letting them just run rampant.
Can't say that. I'm not going to jail for your idle comments, brother. We let the court decide what should happen to them, and and that's not me being censored, trying to censor your freedom of expression. But this is the times that we are in, where this platform will just disappear. This is exactly what's happening. When it comes to holding them accountable, that's the problem with the system, and why I don't believe that we can fix a current system. A monarchy that rules through the the illusion of a constitution is no different than the slavery that has been around for a thousand times, never going away. This is a brilliant comment. Thank you, Leonard Kingsley. We do have, in fact, a de facto criminal government that operates on the color of law. Voting is the way in which they trick us to get us to give them permission to rule us. The implied consent only perpetuates the cycle of control and tyranny, and that's exactly it in a nutshell. And this is where and I saw another comment. I hear, what's your 2 cents on Max? Well, I'm going to answer that question at the same time. All they are asking for when they are campaigning is a seat at the syndicate trough.
Mm-hmm.
That is not in the best interests of Canadians. So I challenge every politician seeking office to answer one question, and that will determine whether they are on which side of history or not. And that is, would you support constitutional conventions to seat a de jure Canada, a legal, lawful Canada? That's it. And they'll answer, they'll obfuscate, and they will tell you exactly which side of history that they stand on. So, as much as we have to continue to play this charade in the moment, because that is the only management system we have, we need to start building something more than a dilapidated fallout shelter, because that's kind of, so I hope I answered a few of those.
So if I may, this is kind of one of my kind of core philosophies, is that the system as is insufficient, inaccurate, incompatible with our values, and incompetent, and all of the bad stuff that we kind of talk about on a regular basis, right? So how would we upgrade that so that we do have the power that is necessary to hold people accountable, right? And to your point about voting, that we only vote, and I explained this to somebody else yesterday as well, we only vote in the positive. We only vote for something. And if you have so this is called the magician's choice, right? So you've got option A and option B. Which one would you like? Well, option B. Well, it's the same as option A. Tough shit. You get what I tell you. That's because I'm the magician, right? And so what we need is a third option that says, if I vote the third option, either are wrong. I don't support, I vote against, right? So we need the mechanism to vote out or vote against whatever the bullshit is. And we don't have that. It's never been designed that way. That's the upgrade to democracy that we need to hold people accountable, because we have to have the ability that if we put them in there, we should be able to take them out.
Those are exactly the kinds of things that get discussed at a constitutional convention
Exactly.
to decide what kind of government that we want.
Exactly.
And this is where, I've started describing it. The Queen cut us a blank check on December of 1931, and it's been hidden in somebody's vault. We haven't been able to cash it. Constitutional conventions is the hoops that we have to jump through in order to cash that check and become to create and establish a government that is what Canadians want, not what Geneva or Davos wants. And I 100% agree, starting with the media. That's just another part of the criminal syndicate. They are to me, the existential threat to the population. They are the tip of the enemy's spear. They are the ones that inflict the immediate wounds. They're the trigger pullers for the swamp creatures behind all of that insanity. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So I'll deal with this one. Then I want to bring up a comment from Stephen Rogerson at 4:36.
100%. I got to give Lori the thumbs up on that. Yes, that is some of the word salad gobbledygook that the Indians don't seem to realize, that puts us all in the same damn hellhole. And they're not going to get anything special by signing under the UNDRIP agreements or any of that thing. The natives, the Indians, whatever they want to call themselves, are the same carbon they want to reduce as the rest of us.
Yeah,
period.
we're all on the same team. Well, at least most of us are. Some teams, some factions want to be against everybody, but
Leonard for the win.
yeah, I agree. Of the people, by the people, for the people. 100%.
Amen. That needs to be our new, temporary cognitive dissonance, and we needed to all plug into that and at least get educated, so we can figure out how to get the hell off of the Titanic.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, I'll find that comment there. Well, my screen went wonky on me.
It's actually a good question. So I'll just read it while you're finding it. So what's my opinion about the digital attacks on major corporations the other day? So I actually consulted with a cybersecurity company, and most people don't actually know that like on any given moment, on every single moment of every single day, there's a cyber attack happening somewhere, either for industrial espionage, like nation state, hackers just trying to make money. There's any number of reasons for doing hacking and attacks on corporations. But this one in particular, because there was, I don't even remember which one it was this week. There was a couple this week. Google got hacked this week. I can't remember the other one. I don't know which one he's referring to, but it doesn't really matter because the overarching kind of response to this is the same, is that Klaus Schwab and his goofball losers in Davos have told us multiple times that one of the things that's coming down the pipelines is cyber attacks, right? And as we saw with Rogers and in many other instances that people seem to forget a day after it happens, is that our economy and our systems that manage our economy are very fragile, right? So let me just give you this quick example, okay? So the guy that I consulted for actually solved the problem with Boeing when their planes were falling out of the sky, and so he went in there and fixed this problem to get the planes flying again, right? So this guy has a huge, deep, vast knowledge about how this industry works and what the vulnerabilities are. And some of the stories that he told me, bro, were absolutely insane. And so what you have to kind of understand is that those rock things that people build that are like, they just have like rocks built up and stuff, and they look all cool and whatever. I can't remember the name of them. You remember the name of those things? Inukshuk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically how those things work is you have smaller stones, bigger stones, smaller stones, but they're holding up, right? They're all weighted specifically, right? And there's certain pieces of technology within, kind of the way the world works now, that is this one little stone right near the bottom somewhere, that if that thing falls out, the whole system is just carpet bombed, right? And you could literally drive multiple semi trucks. You could fly a jumbo jet through some of the holes in our security systems in like JavaScript. Here's the perfect example: is JavaScript is in everything, right? Because it's one of those core technologies that we built a whole bunch of stuff on top of. So there's these security holes that are from 10, 15, 20 years ago that nobody noticed, or somebody did notice, but like it's just nothing's happened with it, so it's not in mind, right? So there's huge amounts of security holes all over the place, right? And because of how advanced some of the cryptography and cryptography has gotten, the ability, and especially with AI now, where you can just ram all of this data, you can do SQL injections, which is a type of hacking, and you can aim it at certain things if you have enough power, right? Like we just have no idea the amount of offensive ability that nation states have, right? And if the nation states have them, oligarchy has them too, right? How much resources are dedicated to this? Who knows? But my ultimate point with this kind of this line of reasoning is that at some point it is going to happen. Like there was something they were mentioning this week actually, that they're like, hey, the water system is going to be attacked. Like energy, food, water. If you attack any of those three things, or telecoms, and now because we're so connected to the internet, that just destroys infrastructure on such a vast level that you have to be prepared for that system to go down. And this is why I became a prepper, because I recognize this stuff. I'm like, I don't want to be reliant on the government to come and fix a problem where they're part of the problem. Like, there's no way.
That's the oxymoron of the Kamala Harris campaign, so right? From day one, she's going to fix everything. She's had 3.5 years to do and hasn't done it. I mean, it's just that ludicrous. And
yeah.
And to the point about the technology, if you really, I mean, guys, if you want something that's truly chilling and blood curdling to watch, go and watch some of the lectures from West Point Academy that you'll find on YouTube, where they talk about some of the technology available at their disposal 4 or 5 years ago already, that they're talking about teaching the cadets in their lecture halls. That'll make your blood curl right now, thinking, holy shit, they've got this. Well, it's already at the point where it's no longer military relevant and secure to them, so they're teaching the cadets. That's the point that I want to make out of that, is the technology is so advanced and it's been so corrupted and co-opted because of crime syndicates. They started this a long time ago in Pegasus. Look up the Pegasus project
Yep.
and how much access they have into everything. Backdoors into everything. There's a backdoor in everything. There's no way Bill Gates was smart enough to do anything except to learn how to be potty trained, perhaps.
Yeah, and like the Telegram guy got arrested this week, and so he's facing decades in jail because the authoritarian left, is us we should call these idiots. They're trying to take power as much as the authoritarian right. Like people seem to forget that Vladimir Putin, our good buddy in Russia, has been in power for almost 25 years, bro. Like that's crazy. That's crazy, man. That's just crazy, man.
I wouldn't go so far as to say our good old buddy in Russia, Putin, yet. I will commend him for his patience and tolerance with the childish West, the insolent West, and having the wherewithal that, thank goodness, 25 years in power gives him the fortitude and the discernment not to wipe us off the face of the planet. So I'll say, I'll say that, and I'll give props to the UAE or UAW at this point. Pulling a $90 billion industry deal from France. You locked this guy up. No business for you. And that's money talks, right? And money talks. And this is what we have to remember in this day and age, right here, right now, is when we threaten the money of the politician, we control which direction they go as well, right? Whichever reins we're pulling on, that's the direction that they are going. So, to kind of swing it back to some of the victory, the victory that was had at the beginning of that we talked about at the beginning of the show, they are all paying attention right now, folks. Yep. And we need to keep our foot on the gas and get more coordinated and organized. And the reason
all gas, no brakes.
We cannot give any of them a break because they're all breaking and they are desperately looking for a friendly crowd. And those that choose the wrong side in political office will have a hard time walking down the streets in the angry Canada that we have now. And I don't think that anybody wants that either. So get plugged into some of the things that are moving the dial. The reason I was going to say this just a moment ago, the reason I keep coming back to constitutional conventions and doing this is there's parties, there are groups that are doing this, whether we're talking about it or not. They are actively, fully engaged in it, and nobody wants to be the last guy picked in the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, 100%. And this is kind of a little bit of a segue into kind of my final point for the day. Is that this all falls back to a very, very simple philosophy that everybody needs to have, is that this is for survival. After all of these plans are rolled out, the future that they have for us is slavery or dead, right? So if you don't want to be down either of those paths, you better figure out a way that you and your family and your community and your country and society and civilization and whatever group of people you feel connected to. I'm very connected to humanity on that level for that reason, because I see things from a little bit more of a global perspective. But hey, if it's just you and your family, you still have to be able to do the analysis and say, this asshole is trying to destroy me. What is this guy saying? Like, what are we going to do if this asshole is trying to destroy us? Who else is against this idiot? My enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? And you have to be able to organize with people to say, hey, this is the goal that we have set. How are we going to get there? And what are we going to do today? Right? We're running out of time, right? And so my ultimate point with this is, regardless of what you think of the global war, World War III, it is happening. We still have to fight it to survive. There's 100%. No way that it's going to be avoided at this point. And I'll have to remind everybody, every single city in North America has a nuke aimed at it by at least 2 countries, if not more, right? And to survive that type of thing, you better have the resources that you need to survive, not the least of which food, to make sure that if something does happen for any reason, if there's an earthquake or a hurricane or a nuke or a terrorist attack, it literally doesn't matter what it is. If you don't have the skills, resources, and assets to survive for at least a couple days, you're dead, right? So make sure that you and your family and the people that you care about have enough around you that you can survive something bad happening. Otherwise, what are we talking about?
If our insolent Western lunatics want to take it that kinetic, there's no such thing as war. Anyways, it's a termination point on all species except cockroaches on this planet. At that point, 24 hours, there's nothing left but a smoldering pile of lava. So I hope the greater heads will prevail, but I absolutely expect them to to continue down this path. This accelerating path of manufactured destabilization. I hate to say it, I got to go back and find that show that I did the night of the Brexit countdown, because I was literally laying this all out there. Every last part of this, the manufactured destabilization, the food shortages, beginning of COVID, all insanity, all of that, because it was all in the playbooks, and they might not be right on their timeline. They had to bump it back, but they're still moving full steam ahead. They still intend on hitting us with some diabolical events over the coming year. Why? Because this is the year that they have to pay attention, and they are mortally afraid. So we cannot give them what they want. We cannot give them the violence and the revolution that will give them the justification that they feel they need to make it plausible enough to bring in the black boots that will keep our heads crushed in the sand forever. But that's just
which means we need a second renaissance.
Amen to that, right? All right, Bryce. Well, it's been a slice, and I cannot tell a lie, folks. I am kind of glad this broadcasting week is over. Next week, we've got some great stuff. I'm not sure when exactly we're going to get Celtic Canuck on, but I also have a former undercover RCMP whistleblower that's going to be coming on to talk about some of the diabolical things
anonymously,
that he knows.
Or
pardon me?
Anonymously, or
no. He's gotten through the non-disclosure, and he's doing some talking. So we're going to get to hear more dirt and slime, on the swamp creatures in Canada. So we are gaining a lot of momentum, folks. Keep your foot on the gas out there. I'll tell you what, we've been swinging for the fences the last few weeks on this platform, and it's getting noticed, and that is in part because of the work that you guys do to keep pushing this forward. So thank you guys all so much, and thank you, Bryce. We will see what kind of shenanigans we have to deal with next week.
It'll be there's lots of stuff that's coming in the pipeline. So thank you all for watching, and really appreciate it.
All right. And the link to follow Bryce on Substack is in the show notes. You'll find them on wherever you're watching this from, and we'll see you next Friday. All right, guys. Just to close things off here, a little bit of the regular housework. We didn't have much for resources, but Substack is the place to go. It's also free. My content is always free, always will be free. That being said, on Substack, I have the ability to share documents and in-depth long-form content that we cover on the show here, whatever that might be. It's in the Substack the next day. It is free, but you can subscribe there with an option to throw $8 a month my way. So it's like 50 cents a show. If you find value in what we're doing here, that is a great way to help me stay in the game. Not to take anything away from all of those that do the likes and the sharing as well. If you want to buy us a coffee here at the and if you've been following long enough, you'll know I eat 3 square meals a day, every one of them out of my coffee cup and mixed exactly the same way. I live on the stuff, so that's a great way to help out. If you have an important story or more information, some context, somebody we need to talk to, a whistleblower, this is a great way to reach out and contact me for whatever you have for it in inquiry. And as some other people out there, Carly and a few others have, correctly identified, the media is our biggest existential threat. And the independent journalists and reporters that give you the authentic goods, they don't do it for the likes and the shares and the clickbait. Those are the ones that need the help the most. And I encourage you to support your favorite most reliable, trusted source in the alternative or alternative authentic media space, and this is the best way to help me. Skips all the commissions that the other guys take. And yeah, on that note, the last thing I have to share with everybody is a resounding applause for some other people that kind of inspire me by their fortitude. When Barack Obama called them the 8th most dangerous conservatives in America, because they wouldn't sell out to the globalism like every other sponsored or rented politician. They didn't want to play that globalist reindeer games, and so that is the biggest reason for me to be partnered with these guys. I mean, that's just enough for me. The products, I can't say enough about them. You're not going to get better value for anything that you get out there, and you're probably not going to get it safe or North American made. So if you're curious, guys, go take a look on the website, and you'll find a way to connect with Patriot Switch. And so yeah, that's it. That's all. Stay safe. Have an amazing long weekend. Hug your family. Don't forget to live. It's always darker online than it is in life. There's still always lots to appreciate, and lots of reasons to find motivation for what we need to do going forward in this next little part of history. Nothing good comes easy. This won't either. I love you all. Stay mighty, my friends, family, patriots, and prisoners. And we'll see you again on Monday.
In times of global instability, soaring inflation and massive debt, gold and silver have proven to be unshakable pillars of wealth. New World Precious Metals, based in Calgary, Canada, is a leading international brokerage. We offer an easy, secure and cost-effective platform for investing in gold and silver, including our international wholesale program and registered retirement savings accounts. Protect your money outside traditional banking with our physical precious metals, privately vaulted outside the banking system, at secure, insured exchanges worldwide. Gold and silver have been trusted assets for generations, with current projections indicating high returns. And with unprecedented demand from governments, banks and investors, there are now shortages. Precious metals thrive during inflation, geopolitical instability, and currency devaluation. Sound familiar? Now is the time to invest in gold and silver. whether in your international investment account or by transferring registered retirement savings accounts. Experience the security of physical precious metals, combining the safety of physical assets with the flexibility of being like your own bank, offering instant liquidity and a financed line of credit. With precious metals on the rise, don't miss this generational opportunity to protect your wealth. At New World Precious Metals, we ensure your wealth meets its potential. Contact us today and our personal brokers will guide you every step of the way.